God's chosen ones are waking up everywhere. The system is afraid. There is a stirring happening beneath the surface of our world, a quiet but undeniable shift that is beginning to shake the foundations of everything we thought was unshakable. You might feel it, a strange disconnection from the noise around you, a burning desire to break free from the monotony, the lies, the scripted version of life we've all been handed since birth. You're not alone. Something is awakening inside people all over the world, and it's not by accident. It's not a trend. It's not a coincidence. It is a spiritual rebellion, a mass awakening. And those who are waking up, they are not ordinary people. They are the ones who were marked from the beginning, the chosen ones. For generations, the world has tried to suppress these individuals. It labeled them outcasts, black sheep, misfits. It tried to medicate them, silence them, make them feel like they were broken for seeing what others could not. But the truth is, they were never broken. They were different, set apart, sent here with a mission encoded in their very DNA. And now, the alarm clock of destiny is going off inside their souls. They are beginning to rise. Everywhere you look, people are beginning to question everything. They're questioning authority, media, religion, culture, and even their own upbringing. The veil is lifting, and behind it, they see the truth, that the world they've been living in is not built on freedom, but on fear. That the systems meant to protect them were actually designed to keep them asleep, obedient, and distracted. But the ones who were chosen, by divine design, are no longer staying quiet. They are waking up, and the system is terrified. Why? Because these people can't be bought. They can't be bribed, sedated, or manipulated through guilt or shame. They remember who they are. And when someone remembers who they are in a world built on amnesia, they become a threat, an unstoppable force. The system doesn't fear weapons. It fears awakened souls. It fears clarity. It fears conviction. It fears people who no longer fear it. This is not just another chapter in history. This is the breaking point, the time when the silent warriors begin to speak, when the light carriers begin to shine regardless of the darkness, when those who were always different begin to realize they were never alone. They were chosen, prepared, and placed exactly where they need to be. So if you've ever felt like you don't fit in, if you've ever felt a deep calling that you can't quite explain, if you've been attacked, dismissed, ridiculed, or abandoned, understand this. It's because you are part of something the world doesn't understand, but desperately needs. This is your moment. This is the awakening. And whether you're ready or not, your soul has already answered the call. There comes a time in human history when the illusion becomes so unbearable, so suffocating, that the soul begins to rebel. Not out of rage, not out of vengeance, but out of a sacred instinct, a divine memory that refuses to be buried. That time is now. Across every corner of the world, a silent revolution is rising. It's not on the news. It's not trending on your favorite platform. But it is real, more real than anything you've been taught to believe. This revolution is not fought with guns or banners or political slogans. It's fought in the quiet of hearts, in the stillness of minds, and in the burning realization that we have been lied to. Lied to about who we are. Lied to about our power. Lied to about what this world is and what it was meant to be. The chosen ones are waking up. Slowly at first. Quietly. Cautiously. But now the pace is quickening. The energy is shifting. And the system that was built to keep them asleep is beginning to tremble. You can feel it. The atmosphere is different. The rules don't make sense anymore. The structures that once felt unbreakable now seem hollow, fragile, outdated. Why? Because they were never designed to accommodate truth. They were built to contain it. And the moment that truth begins to move, to breathe, to speak, the whole game falls apart. We are not talking about a conspiracy. We are talking about clarity, about a spiritual remembering that transcends culture, language, and religion. It doesn't matter where you were born. It doesn't matter how much education you've had, how much money you make, or how many followers you have. What matters is that something inside of you has started to stir. You're beginning to question what you used to accept. You no longer feel at home in places you once found comfort. You no longer trust voices you once believed in. You look around, and everything feels slightly off. That is not confusion. That is awakening. The chosen ones are not perfect people. They've made mistakes. They've fallen, failed, doubted themselves, lost their way more times than they can count. But every fall was a lesson. Every failure, a purification. Every wound, a doorway. They were never meant to live easy lives. They were meant to live meaningful ones. And that meaning doesn't come from comfort, it comes from fire. They are the ones who've been through the darkness so they can carry the light. The ones who were rejected so they would stop seeking validation. The ones who were broken so they would finally hear the voice of their soul. You may not have known it at the time, but every heartbreak, every betrayal, every moment of isolation was preparing you. Not punishing you, preparing you. For what? For this moment. The moment you stop pretending. The moment you stop shrinking. The moment you realize that everything you were taught to fear is actually afraid of you. The system is not afraid of masses. It can control masses. The system is afraid of individuals who know who they are. Because once you know who you are, you stop obeying fear. You stop compromising your truth. You stop needing approval. And that is the beginning of true power. We are taught to believe that awakening is a peaceful, spiritual experience full of serenity and light. But that's only half the truth. Real awakening is a collapse, a shaking of the foundations. It's painful. It's lonely. It's disorienting. Why? Because you are leaving behind everything that was never really yours. You are shedding identities you inherited but never chose. You are releasing beliefs that were implanted but never questioned. You are unplugging from a world that rewards numbness and punishes awareness. And yes, it hurts, but it also liberates. It frees you to rebuild, to remember, to return, not to who the world told you to be, but to who God made you to be. There are no leaders in this movement, no gurus, no blueprints. Each chosen one awakens in their own way, on their own timeline, guided by something deeper than logic, by spirit, by intuition, by divine orchestration. You might find yourself drawn to new thoughts, new voices, new ideas that would have scared you just a year ago. You might find that your old life no longer fits, and the people around you no longer understand. That's not a sign that something's wrong with you. That's a sign you're evolving. You're being called to a higher frequency, a higher mission. And what happens when enough chosen ones begin to awaken? The frequency of the planet shifts. The old games stop working. The propaganda loses its effect. The manipulations are exposed. The chains fall off, not because someone unlocked them, but because you no longer believe in their power. That is the most terrifying thing for a control-based system. It can't survive without your belief. And the moment you withdraw that belief, you become immune, untouchable, sovereign. That's why the system doesn't just want you distracted. It needs you asleep. It needs you doubting yourself. Because if even a small number of awakened souls begin to live fully, fearlessly, and consciously, it's enough to collapse centuries of illusion. So yes, the awakening has begun. And no, it cannot be stopped. It can be mocked. It can be censored. It can be slowed. But it cannot be reversed. Because what has been seen cannot be unseen. What has been remembered cannot be forgotten. And once you hear the voice within, the real voice, you will never again be satisfied with silence. You must understand this. The system isn't afraid of chaos, rebellion, or even violence. It knows how to control those things. It can use fear, punishment, and distraction to pacify the masses. But the one thing it has never been able to control, will never be able to control, is the awakened soul. And that is exactly what you are becoming. That's why it fears you. Not because of what you can do with your hands, but because of what you carry in your spirit. Because once the chosen ones remember who they are, they become untouchable, not physically, but spiritually. They begin to live beyond fear, beyond programming, beyond the narrative. And when you step outside of the narrative, you no longer play the game. You start creating your own. The system, the world as we know it, is not built to empower you. It's built to manage you. From the moment you were born, you were placed on a conveyor belt of conditioning. You were told who to be, how to think, what to chase, what to fear, and what to ignore. You were taught to trust authority more than your intuition. You were taught to obey even when your soul screamed no. And the truth is, most people never break free from that. They spend their entire lives performing a role, never realizing the script was handed to them by someone else. But the chosen ones? They feel it. Deep in their bones, they know something isn't right. And once that feeling is acknowledged, the entire illusion begins to crumble. So what does the system do? It tries to discredit them. It labels them crazy, rebellious, delusional, or extreme. It floods their life with distractions, drama, and fear. It tries to drown the voice within with the noise outside. But what the system never expects is that some of us were born for this war. Some of us were built in silence, trained in isolation, and hardened through suffering. We didn't come to conform. We came to confront. Not with weapons, but with presence. With truth. With spiritual power that doesn't ask for permission and doesn't retreat under pressure. You see, the system is clever. It doesn't always look like tyranny. Sometimes, it looks like comfort. It whispers, just be normal. Fit in. Stay safe. It rewards your compliance with convenience. But what it fears most is your awakening. Because when you awaken, you don't just change yourself. You begin to influence others. You become a walking contradiction to the lies. You remind people of their own power simply by existing. You threaten the whole machine just by refusing to be a cog in it. The chosen ones carry a frequency that the system cannot decode. That frequency disrupts the control grid. It activates others. It pierces through propaganda. And the more awakened souls there are, the harder it becomes for the illusion to hold. That's why those in power want to keep you divided, angry, and asleep. They flood your mind with media, poison your body with chemicals, distract your spirit with meaningless noise. Because a distracted soul is a docile one. A numbed mind doesn't rebel. A confused heart won't listen to the voice of God. But what happens when the chosen stop being confused? What happens when they stop looking for validation and start listening to their divine intuition? That's when the fear flips. That's when the system panics. Because no amount of surveillance, no level of censorship, no military force can stop a soul that has remembered its mission. That's when the powerless begin to move like giants. That's when the forgotten become leaders. That's when one voice becomes thunder. And let's be clear, the system doesn't just fear what you know. It fears what you carry. The light, the clarity, the divine calling. You weren't made to follow rules that were written to enslave you. You weren't placed on this earth to sit silently while darkness calls itself order. You were chosen to disrupt, to destroy illusions, to rebuild a world aligned with truth. And they knew this. That's why your path has been harder. That's why you've been attacked, mocked, misunderstood. Because they saw your potential before you did. And they tried to kill it before it bloomed. But here's what they didn't expect. That everything meant to destroy you would actually awaken you. That every betrayal would deepen your discernment. That every setback would sharpen your purpose. That the more they tried to bury you, the more your roots would grow. The chosen ones were never meant to live easy lives. They were meant to endure the fire so they could carry it. They were meant to walk through the valley so they could guide others out of it. And now here you are, alive in a time where truth is under attack, where clarity is rare, and where real courage is the only currency that matters. You're not here by chance. You're not hearing these words by accident. You're here because something inside of you has already awakened. And the system knows it. That's why it's scared. Because for the first time in a long time, the power is shifting, not through revolution, but through revelation. Not through force, but through frequency. They can take your job. They can cancel your voice. They can isolate you from the crowd. But they cannot unchoose what God has chosen. They cannot reverse your awakening. They cannot put your soul back to sleep. That part of you has already crossed a line, and there's no going back. The illusion is breaking. The fear is cracking. The false power is crumbling. And in the midst of all this collapse, the chosen ones are rising, not to dominate, but to liberate. Not to lead with ego, but to shine with truth. The system is afraid, yes. But the time for fear is over. The time for silence is over. It is time to remember who you are. You may be wondering, how do I know if I am one of the chosen ones? The world never told you. In fact, it probably told you the opposite. It told you that you were strange, too emotional, too intense, too different. It tried to break your spirit before you ever had a chance to discover its power. But here's the truth. God doesn't announce his chosen with trumpets. He marks them with trials. You don't find your calling in comfort. You discover it through pain, rejection, and isolation. The chosen ones are not chosen because they are better. They are chosen because they are built, forged in darkness, trained in silence, tempered by struggle. If you've ever felt like you didn't belong in this world, like you were speaking a language no one around you understood, that's a sign. If you've always sensed something deeper was going on beneath the surface of this reality, something hidden, something sacred, that's a sign. If your heart breaks when others are numb, if you see beauty where others see nothing, If your spirit refuses to conform no matter how much pressure is placed upon it, that's a sign. You are not crazy. You are not broken. You are awake. You were chosen. Many of the chosen ones walk through years, sometimes decades, of loneliness, confusion, and spiritual warfare. Why? Because before you can lead others, you must first survive yourself. You must walk through the shadows of your own soul and confront every lie, every wound, every false belief that has kept you small. You must die to who the world told you to be so you can be resurrected into who God designed you to become. That journey is not glamorous. It's not Instagram-worthy. It's raw. It's brutal. It's sacred. And it's necessary. You've been through things others would not have survived. You've endured heartbreaks that shattered your illusions, losses that stripped you bare, nights that seemed to last for years. And yet, you are still here. Not just alive, but watching, listening, feeling more deeply than ever before. That's not weakness. That's spiritual stamina. You were not destroyed. You were initiated. Into what? Into your purpose. Your role in this spiritual war. Because make no mistake, this is a war. Not of flesh and blood, but of spirit and truth. A war between illusion and clarity, between control and freedom, between ego and soul. And in this war, the chosen ones are not passive observers. They are warriors, but not in the way the world defines war. Their weapon is not violence, it is vibration. Their shield is not armor, it is awareness. Their battlefield is not external, it is internal. Every time you choose to speak the truth when it's easier to stay silent, you are fighting. Every time you protect the innocent, stand against injustice, or create beauty in a world obsessed with destruction, you are fulfilling your role. You don't need a stage to lead. You don't need a title or a microphone. Leadership among the chosen is not about visibility, it's about vibration. It's about being the calm in chaos, the light in darkness, the anchor in the storm. Your energy is your message. Your presence is your resistance. When you walk into a room with your soul intact, you destabilize everything false in that space. You remind people of something they've forgotten. That's why you're often misunderstood. That's why people project their insecurities onto you. Because your existence exposes their illusion. And yes, that can be heavy. Being chosen doesn't mean being celebrated. In fact, it often means being crucified by family, by friends, by the very systems you were sent to challenge. But do not let their rejection make you reject yourself. Do not let their blindness convince you that you're not seeing clearly. You were never meant to be understood by everyone. You were meant to be a lighthouse to those still lost in the fog. Your role is not to save the world single-handedly. Your role is to stay awake, to speak truth in love, to embody a frequency so pure that lies cannot survive in your presence. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be real. And realness in a fake world is revolutionary. You've already been prepared. Every scar is a scripture. Every wound, a weapon. Every tear, a testament. You've been shaped for this exact moment. Your spiritual sensitivity, your emotional depth, your rebellious heart, they are not flaws. They are features. God doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't choose the obvious. He chooses the faithful, the willing, the ones who are tired of playing pretend and ready to walk in purpose. And now, the time has come, not to hide, not to doubt, but to step fully into your assignment. To recognize that your life is not just about survival, it's about awakening others. Every time you heal a wound, you break a chain. Every time you share your truth, you plant a seed. Every time you choose love over fear, you weaken the grip of darkness over this world. That is your role. That is your calling. And you don't have to do it all at once. Just take the next step. Speak the next truth. Love the next soul. Be the next spark. And trust that you are part of something so much bigger than what you can see. A divine revolution is unfolding. And you, whether you fully realize it or not, are at the heart of it. There comes a point when waiting is no longer an option, when silence feels like betrayal, when delaying your purpose becomes more painful than stepping into it. That point is now. This is not a time to retreat. This is not a season to blend in. This is the hour the chosen ones were born for. And whether the world recognizes it or not, whether you feel ready or not, the call is here. Loud, unmistakable, divine. The time is now, and you must rise. You see, for too long, you've doubted your power. You've questioned your value. You've tried to shrink to make others comfortable. You've dimmed your light to avoid standing out. But all of that was based on a lie. A lie planted by a system terrified of your potential. A system that survives only as long as you forget who you are. But you didn't come here to forget. You came here to remember. To remember the truth buried beneath years of conditioning. To remember the mission encoded in your soul before you ever took your first breath. You were never just another face in the crowd. You were never meant to fit the mold, follow the script, or die with your song still inside you. You were chosen, set apart, called for a purpose that transcends your job title, your bank account, your relationship status, or your past mistakes. That calling is not someday, it is now. The world is not waiting for more politicians. It is not waiting for more celebrities, more influencers, more noise. It is waiting for you, for your truth, for your clarity, for your unapologetic presence in a world addicted to pretending. And yes, rising will cost you. It will cost you your comfort. It will cost you your approval ratings. It will cost you the illusion of safety that comes from staying small. But what you gain in return is priceless. You gain alignment. You gain freedom. You gain the unspeakable joy that comes from knowing. This is why I'm here. This is why I went through what I went through. This is why they couldn't break me. This is why I've always felt different. I was never meant to blend in. I was meant to wake up. And once you wake up, the only thing left is to rise. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for perfect conditions. The world as we know it is unraveling. Institutions are crumbling. Lies are being exposed. The atmosphere is charged with both chaos and opportunity. This is the divine reset. And in every reset, the chosen ones are called to rise first. Not because they are better, but because they remember. Remember what? That love is stronger than fear. That truth is louder than deception. That light is not the absence of darkness. It is the force that ends it. And that force lives in you. You carry the blueprint of a new world. Not a utopia in theory, but a kingdom in action. A world where people are not judged by labels, but by light. A world where children are not programmed, but protected. A world where freedom is not granted by governments, but activated by God. You are not waiting for that world. You are here to build it. With your hands. With your voice. With your daily choices, your sacred boundaries. Your refusal to accept a lie as truth. They told you to be quiet. Rise anyway. They told you to be realistic. Dream anyway. They told you to stay safe. Speak anyway. They told you to follow the rules. Break them anyway, when they contradict your soul. This is not rebellion for rebellion's sake. This is obedience to a higher law. The law of truth. The law of spirit. The law of divine timing. And the time is now. You are not alone. All over the world, others are waking up just like you. They are questioning the story. They are walking away from the systems. They are shedding the fake and seeking the real. They may not look like you. They may not speak like you. But they carry the same frequency. They burn with the same fire. They bleed with the same heart. Together, you are the quiet army that darkness never expected. An army that doesn't need weapons, because truth is enough. An army that doesn't need orders, because it moves from intuition. An army that doesn't march to the sound of fear, but rises to the rhythm of faith. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to be faithful. You don't need to know the entire plan. You just need to take the next step, and then the next, and then the next. Each step you take is a crack in the old world. Each act of courage is a seed in the new one. This is how the shift happens, not in headlines, but in hearts. Not from the top down, but from the inside out. So rise, even if your voice shakes, even if your legs tremble, even if no one claps. Rise because this is who you were born to be. Rise because the world desperately needs souls who are fully alive. Rise because you've already paid the price for your awakening. Now it's time to live it. And if you ever forget, remember this. You were chosen for such a time as this. You are not late. You are not lost. You are right on time. Everything in your life has led you to this moment. Every battle prepared you. Every scar reminds you. Every failure refined you. There is nothing accidental about you. You are divine design in motion. So lift your head, take a breath, and walk boldly into the storm. The time is now. The world is shifting. The darkness is trembling. And the chosen ones are rising.